Friends, this is the story of a girl who deceived a boy in love. But then, later the boy gave her the punishment of tickling. And what happened next? To find out everything, watch the video till the end. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Friends, it was an evening in New York, when the city was lost in its rhythm, that Alara took a deep breath and looked out of her apartment window. There was a strange glow in her eyes, but a storm raged in her heart. That night, her boyfriend Ryan was coming to their favorite restaurant for a special dinner. But Alara had something else on her mind. A few days ago, she had spent a moment with Ryan's cousin Arav, a mistake that now felt like a thorn in her throat. She didn't know that this small mistake would change her life forever. Ryan arrived, holding a bouquet of red roses and wearing his familiar smile. Alara composed herself and tried to smile back, but the old happiness was missing from her smile. There was silence at the dinner table, broken only by the faint clinking of spoons. Ryan noticed her sadness. "What's the matter, Alara? You don't seem okay," he said with concern in his voice. Alara lowered her gaze. "Ryan, I need to tell you something." Her voice trembled as if revealing a deep secret. As soon as she told Ryan about Arav, his face turned pale. The sound of the fork falling from his hand onto the plate was louder than anything in the room. His eyes flooded with pain and disbelief. A few moments of silence passed, as if the whole universe had stopped breathing. Then Ryan laughed softly, a strange, bitter laugh that pierced Alara's heart. "Tickling punishment," he whispered. Alara looked at him in shock. "You'll get the punishment of tickling," he repeated. But there was no joke in his voice, only a deep, hidden challenge. Alara felt that maybe Ryan had forgiven her, or at least that this punishment wouldn't be so bad. She had no idea that a whole drama was playing out in Ryan's mind. The next morning, Ryan asked Alara to come with him to an unknown place, an abandoned old studio on the outskirts of the city, filled with dust and silence. Alara's heart started pounding. "What is this, Ryan?" she asked, fear clear in her voice. "This is your punishment," he said, with a smile Alara had never seen before, a cold and mysterious smile. Inside the studio, Ryan made Alara sit on an old chair. He tied her hands and feet tightly with rope. Alara tried to resist, but it was useless. "What are you doing, Ryan?" she screamed. "You can't hurt me!" Ryan bent in front of her, his eyes gleaming strangely. "Hurt? No, Alara. I'm going to give you the punishment of tickling. But this isn't the kind of tickling you're thinking of. This is a game, where you'll laugh and cry, both at the same time." Ryan opened a bag and took out a collection of feathers and small brushes. Alara saw a devilish smile forming on Ryan's face, but there was also a deep sadness in his eyes. He picked up a small feather and gently started stroking the soles of Alara's feet. At first, Alara laughed, an odd, uncontrollable laughter, but soon it turned into hysterical, wild screams. Ryan used several more feathers, every time on a new spot: her neck, stomach, underarms. Alara laughed until she cried. Her eyes filled with tears. Her breathing became heavy, and it felt like she would suffocate. Ryan sometimes smiled, sometimes looked into her eyes filled with pain, as if he too was feeling the same agony. Time passed, but Alara had no idea how long. Hours, maybe days. Ryan kept tickling her, sometimes pausing, sometimes starting again. Alara's muscles cramped up. Her body stiffened in pain. She wasn't laughing anymore, only feeling unbearable pain and exhaustion. Ryan's face became expressionless, like a machine, but his eyes held hidden sorrow. "Are you going to kill me?" Alara asked, barely breathing. "No, Alara," he said quietly. "I just want you to never forget this, to know the cost of breaking trust." Slowly, Alara's consciousness started to fade. She felt like she was falling into a deep well. Her eyes began to close. Ryan noticed her condition was becoming serious. A slight wrinkle formed on his face. He stopped tickling her. Alara felt like she was at death's door, but then she got a jolt. Ryan threw cold water on her face. Her eyes opened. She was lying on the ground, her hands and feet still tied. Ryan was leaning over her. "How are you feeling, Alara?" he asked. Alara couldn't speak. Her voice was stuck in her throat. Ryan picked her up and sat her in the chair. He untied her hands and feet. Alara couldn't even stand. Her body was completely broken. Ryan placed a glass of water in front of her. "Drink this," he said. Alara slowly sipped the water. The fear and emptiness in her eyes were clearly visible. Ryan took a deep breath. "Alara," he said. His voice now lacked that coldness. Instead, it had a strange sadness and regret. "I know I caused you a lot of pain, but you hurt me too." Alara looked at him. Her eyes were full of questions. Was all of this necessary? Ryan shook his head. "I'll never be able to forgive you, Alara, but I can't keep you here anymore. The game is over." Ryan dropped her off at her home. The whole ride back, neither of them spoke a single word. Alara entered her apartment, and as soon as she closed the door, she collapsed to the ground. Her body was trembling, and tears streamed from her eyes. But these weren't tears of pain. They were from the terrifying experience and betrayal she had just endured. Alara's life was never the same. That night, that tickling punishment, always stayed with her. She never saw Ryan again. He left the city and went somewhere far away. Arav also went out of contact. But every time she felt even a slight tickle, she would remember that dreadful studio, that darkness, and Ryan's mysterious smile. She knew that some mistakes come with a punishment so deep, they shake you from within, and change you forever. This wasn't just tickling. It was psychological torture that broke Alara from the inside. And the question always remained, where did Ryan go? And would Alara ever recover from this pain? In the deep alleys of the city, the story of Ryan and Alara remained a mystery, a tale that reminds us how the punishment for betrayal can sometimes be so horrifying that no one could even imagine it. That night became a permanent scar in Alara's life. Even after Ryan's departure, the bustling energy of New York could not bring her peace. Every night, as the city lights dimmed, the images of that warehouse haunted her mind. The feeling of those feathers, the laughter that turned into screams, and the mysterious sadness in Ryan's eyes. She thought about leaving the city, thinking maybe a new place would free her from this pain. But where could she go? Every street, every building reminded her of Ryan. One evening, Alara was sitting in her apartment, flipping through an old photo album. It had smiling pictures of her and Ryan, from the times when everything was fine. She remembered, Ryan always loved adventure. He was fond of riddles. Suddenly, her eyes fell on an old photograph from Ryan's childhood. In the picture, Ryan was standing outside a tickle house at an old carnival, with a strange, mischievous smile on his face. Alara recalled something. Ryan had once jokingly said that his grandfather was an artist who made bizarre mechanical toys, and one of them was their tickle house. Was this just a coincidence? Or was there a deeper secret behind it? Alara searched online for Tickle House, New York. Several old articles and blog posts came up. One of them had a blurry old photo mentioning Ryan's grandfather's name, Alberto Vega, the master of mechanical mysteries. The article described that Alberto had a secret workshop where he created his unique inventions. Alara started to believe that Ryan's tickle punishment wasn't just an act of revenge, but a complex game tied to his grandfather's legacy. She dug through old records of Ryan's family and found an old property, a small deserted bungalow on the city's outskirts. Alara felt that Ryan might have gone there. With a strange mix of hope and fear, she set out toward the bungalow. It was late at night, and the path was deserted. As she approached the bungalow, she felt someone was watching her. Her heartbeat quickened. The bungalow was swallowed in darkness. The windows were broken, and the door was half open. Alara gathered courage and stepped inside. Inside, dust and cobwebs ruled the place. She turned on her phone's flashlight and cautiously moved forward. One room stood out from the rest. Inside, she found strange tools and unfinished machines. On the ground was a crumpled old paper. She picked it up. It was a map, marked with secret codes and symbols. At the bottom it said, "To reach the truth, you must first defeat fear." Suddenly, a gust of wind slammed the door shut. Alara panicked. Then, a slow mechanical voice echoed, "Welcome, Alara. I knew you would come." It was Ryan's voice, but coming from a machine. Alara looked around, but Ryan was nowhere to be seen. "I'm watching you, Alara," the voice continued. "This is your final test. If you want to know the truth, you must overcome every challenge I've created." The map mentioned a secret tunnel. Alara gathered her courage and entered the tunnel. It was dark and filled with eerie sounds. As she moved forward, she felt an invisible force touching her, and she began to feel tickled again. This time it was even more terrifying. Alara screamed, but she knew she couldn't stop. She composed herself and kept moving. At the end of the tunnel was a large metal door. On the door, a riddle was written. "When laughter turns into pain, and tears reveal the truth, which path will you choose?" Alara thought. She replied, "The path of forgiveness." The door slowly opened. Alara stepped into a large, glowing room. At the center was an old table with a laptop placed on it. On the screen, a video of Ryan began to play. Ryan was smiling, but his eyes showed pain. "Alara," Ryan said in the video, "this wasn't my final punishment. It was my way of making you feel the pain I felt. My grandfather always said, the greatest punishment is the one that changes you from within. I've forgiven you, Alara, but I could never forgive myself." In the video, Ryan explained how Arav had manipulated him, telling him that Alara had betrayed him. Arav instigated Ryan so he would take revenge on Alara. Later, Ryan discovered that Arav did all this because he was jealous of Ryan, and he liked Alara too. Ryan also shared how he used his grandfather's mechanical skills to design the entire experience, so he could show Alara the depth of emotional betrayal without physically harming her. "I did all this, Alara," Ryan said with a heavy voice, "because I didn't want to lose you. But I gave you so much pain that I can't stay with you anymore. I'm going far away, so we both can heal from this pain. I hope one day you'll forgive me." The video ended. Tears rolled down Alara's cheeks, but this time, not from pain, from understanding. She understood Ryan's pain, and she also felt regret for what she had done. Ryan had punished her, but that punishment had transformed her from the inside. Alara stepped outside the bungalow. Morning had arrived, and the first rays of the sun were spreading across the sky. Now, Alara knew what she had to do. She had to find Ryan, and tell him that she had forgiven him, and she too was sorry. This was a new beginning, a beginning built on trust, pain, and forgiveness. Wherever Ryan might be, Alara knew that their paths would cross again. And with that hope, this story came to an end. And friends, if you're visiting the channel for the first time, please make sure to subscribe before you leave. Thank you.